Hi, I'm James from James Does Things, and this week we went on our very first car boot sale as a family. Okay, so if you are thinking of going to a car boot sale anytime soon, if you've been umming and ahhing about it, definitely go. I would really give it a go. A couple of quick tips I would give you are, first of all, get a table. We were going to use a wallpaper pasting table, which I think you can get for like £10–15. Certainly second hand, you can get them cheap if you can find them. We used to have one and then it turned out it was broken, so we ended up buying one off Amazon and we got quite a good sturdy one, but I think that was still only £50, which is more than I wanted to pay, but it's brilliant and it's going to last us a long time. So I would definitely get a table, just because there were a few people who didn't have tables. Certainly the people next to us at the car boot sale were, it was a couple who looked like they bought lots of kind of pound shop type items, really kind of bottom dollar stuff, and they just kind of literally turned up, put like a blanket on the floor and then dumped all this stuff, and they still got some interest, but it looked a bit, it didn't look great, whereas our setup looked, I was quite impressed with it anyway. I don't know if it like looked really good, but I was impressed with it. Yeah, so definitely if you can find yourself a cheap table, then do it. The other thing that we didn't really have was having a tarpaulin on the floor, which a lot of other people did as well. So they had a table and then at least one tarp on the floor next to it. Unless you just got, because lots of them, there were some serious traders who had just lots of tables, lots of trestle tables. So that's the other option. But certainly for bigger stuff that's kind of a bit inconvenient to put on a table, then yeah, having a tarp or a blanket or something that you can put stuff on the floor. So they're just, yeah, two pieces. And also, so the tarp, having change, so we did that in advance, we got that right. So we had like a few £5 notes, a few pound coins and that kind of thing, some shrapnel. Obviously, if you know you're selling everything for pounds, then don't worry, but my son took a lot of his toy cars and they were like 10p, 20p, so we had to get the full range of shrapnel for the change pot. We took a few bags as well. I think we only gave one away in the end for someone who bought several things. Lots of people do bring bags, but it's always worth taking some because there's always someone who doesn't. We actually took a card reader. You can buy, mainly because my mother-in-law, when she heard, because she's got one, because she's got her own business, and basically she actually bought us one. So you don't need a card reader, and most people who go there have cash, they know, but you can actually get card readers for like 20, 30, 40 pounds. So we did have that option, but that's just a kind of it's definitely nice to have rather than a need to have. Okay, so if you are thinking of going to a car boot sale anytime soon, first thing to say is it's really easy. Literally, I mean, most of the car boot sales I've seen in the UK don't have a website. Some of them do, but a lot of them just have a Facebook page. And eventually I managed to find a phone number on this page that worked, and I phoned them, and they were like, yeah, you just turn up. You don't have to walk or anything. You know, and they thought it was mental. So that's all you do, is you just turn up. And eventually a man came out. When we got there, a man waved at me and went, "Park over there, please." And then about 2 hours later, he came and asked me for £10, and that was it. So if you've been thinking about it, umming and ahhing, do it. It's great fun and it's easy. It's really easy. So just have a look at the thing, have a look at when you need to turn up. For our one, we had to turn up we could turn up any time after 6 o'clock, and the buyers could turn up any time after 7. So I think we got there just after 6:30 in the morning. The first thing to know is that unless it's controlled, which some car boot sales are controlled in terms of how people can move around before the buyers can come in. So if there are no controls like there weren't at this one, your car will be swarmed by usually other sellers, literally the second you get there. So literally we parked up, people were coming straight over, and the second I got out of the door of my car, people said, "Right, have you got any gaming stuff? What toys have you got?" You know, that things. So they were really like in your face straight away. Literally the first box we got out of the car, didn't even get the table out, didn't get the table set up because that was in the bottom of the car. Literally we took a box of my son's toys out, and the woman said, can I just go through this? Can I have a look? And she was there rummaging through it before we'd even, like literally the first thing out of the car. So That was a bit disconcerting. I think that is actually a common thing, having watched some other YouTube videos about it, but it's some places control it. So the one we're going to go to next week, they apparently don't allow that. Whether, I don't know how they manage it in terms of, I suspect it'll still happen a bit, but some places try and manage it. But essentially we had lots of offers very early on and lots of lowball offers for all sorts of stuff. So that's what I want to go into next into the sort of the things that people look for and who looks for what. Okay, so in terms of what buyers were looking for, I think a lot of these buyers were actually either traders themselves or they were resellers, so eBay resellers. But they, literally the first guy, the second I opened the door, was like, gaming, have you got any gaming stuff? Have you got any gaming stuff? And there were several people after that came and asked me. And I did have, I had 2 Xbox games, which no one was interested in, but definitely gaming stuff is, and I have seen lots of other, I've actually bought gaming stuff at other people's car boot sales. So vintage gaming stuff is, any gaming stuff really, any consoles, joypads, controllers, games, that kind of thing is big money. In my previous eBay video, or in my previous video, I spoke quite a lot about, I sold my Nintendo Switch and the games, and I sold the games so fast and for so much money as well. So I was stunned how fast they sold. So gaming is a huge business, and if you've got any games, they will go, you know, people just go mad for them at car boot sales. What I would say is we got lots of lowball offers. The main thing that attracted attention on our stand was the lawnmower. So we took our old lawnmower, which was working, but I think if I'd sold it on Facebook, I'd have gotten, I could have put it on for 30 and gotten 25 for it, maybe 25 and 20. And so I knew I was going to get a bit less for it there, so I was offering people 20 for it, and nobody would give me anything more than 10. And we must have had like 4 or 5 lowball offers, and eventually it got to kind of like 10 o'clock, and my wife was like, that's not going back in the car. We couldn't fit, we've only got a little car, that's the other problem. And she said, right, we need to get more stuff in because we want to come tomorrow. So you need to, that lawnmower's not coming home with us, just get rid of it. So we said, fine. So in the end, I got £10 for it. And the guy who bought it, I'm sure he was a seller. There were some people there with like 5 lawnmowers. So lawnmowers, garden tools, hedge trimmers, power drills, that kind of thing. It's a big business at car boots, and people really go for it. So that's something to bear in mind. If you do have tools in your shed, particularly electronics and power tools, then that you're not using, they'll go like that at a car boot sale. So the other things on our stall, at one end we had my son's stuff, so we had some toy cars, but they had a bit of interest for the ones that looked like Hot Wheels or any kind of Matchbox, like branded, good branded cars. In the end, I think one of them was Matchbox, and that went pretty quickly. None of the others went. The stuff that was kind of either Disney or looked like Disney, that got a bit of interest, some of the plushy stuff, but again, very few of them actually sold. My wife put a lot of sort of kitchen and household stuff, so we had kind of like textile things like ribbons. My wife said, oh, I thought those ribbons would go, you know, I can't believe no one's bought a ribbon. And then literally, I think 10 minutes after she said that, a woman came along and like bought nearly all the ribbons. I've no idea what they used them for, but someone bought them, and she knew exactly what she wanted them for. The other thing that she had was some of her shoes. Shoes went so fast, like literally the woman like, literally picked them up and put them in her bag, like put 2 lots that were meant to be £2 each in the bag and said, I'll give you £3 for them. My wife was like, she kind of bullied my wife into it. And she said, well, I kind of felt bad because some of them were so dirty, but shoes, like branded shoes, I think it was like Rocket Dog and Clark's, and it was flip-flops and sandals respectively. They just, so at my end of the table I had, the bulk of my stuff was books. I've got basically not the books here, but a lot of it was kind of, it was a mixture of random books, like sort of business books, kind of not, I wouldn't say self-help, but certainly sort of self-improvement books, and then just random things like rough guides to places, and then the other books I had were some quite very niche antique books to do with glass and things like that. And I think I sold one of those, but generally that was I think was the only book I sold all day. I had some comics which a few people were interested in, and I managed to sell a couple of Judge Dredd comics. I sold those cheaper than I would have done had they been on eBay. I found them on eBay and they were selling for about £5. I think I sold them for £3 in the end, these 2 comics. But I might have waited a year to sell them on eBay. It was kind of, it's quite, okay, Judge Dredd has a following, but it's a kind of issue 1 and 2 of some comics from like the early noughties, like 2004, 2005, something like that. So it is very niche, and so it would have taken me a long time to get any money for them. So I was happy to get rid of those. So the comics were, despite being in good condition, and sort of most of them were kind of fairly well-known brands, there were only, I'd say, a tiny percentage of the actual punters going there who were interested in that sort of thing, and the same goes for the Pokemon cards that I had on sale. Most people had no idea what they were looking at, it just wasn't their thing, so they just didn't touch it. So with the Pokemon cards, there were some people who knew exactly what they were, but they were generally younger people. So when a bit later on in the day, when families came, I could see that they were kind of somebody's dad, you know, in their kind of 40s and 50s and older, come along, and they brought a child or 2 with them who were kind of in their early teens or kind of primary school age, and several of those came and they wanted, you know, they knew exactly what it was, and because I have got some quite good cards, and I've got some, I also kept some more valuable cards tucked out of the way, so when people came and they clearly knew what they were looking at, I was like, well, if you like those, you'd like some of these, and really got the kind of the big guns out. So the Pokemon cards, I did really well with the Pokemon cards. This, even though I probably only had 3 or 4 paying customers for Pokemon cards. One guy bought £40 worth off me. Another kid, and he was somebody's dad. He was, you know, he was a collector. He bought 2 graded cards off me, £20 each. There was another guy he was only young, but he was quite sort of precocious. He was sort of early teens. And he actually said, oh, have you got any Blastoise? You know, it's quite a specific character. And so, well, I got this one, and that's £5. He was like, I wouldn't give you more than £1 for that one. You know, very kind of, I was like taken aback by it, but I was like, okay, respect. So, but he went through lots of the cards, and he was like, oh, I like this one, this one, this one. And we did a deal, and he bought up to £10 or £15 worth. But I did a deal for him because he bought in bulk. So that's another tip for, you know, I think putting stuff at lower prices, and then saying, okay, I'll do you one for, these are £1 each, but you can have 5 for £3, that kind of thing. It's definitely worth doing that and get people, sort of get your order value up as it would be on eBay. So the market we went to it's a bit of a strange one, because the place where it's sited, most car boot fairs in the UK are essentially, they take place in a field or at a rugby club or something like that. It's usually a big grass area. This one was different. This is actually I think during the week it's a car auction and or a cattle auction. So it's an auctioneer's, and it's basically like a big car park. It's a big hard standing, some of which is covered, so there's a roof over it and they can open all the sides up. We were outside in the main bit, but it's strange because I would say most of the people selling there were traders. There were probably 2, I would say, including us, there were probably only 2 or 3 people there who were just families getting rid of junk. Most other people were traders. You know, they had vans or trailers or certainly big cars, but when they pulled stuff out, you could see they were, you know, they only had antiques for sale, things like that. So they were obviously traders. And and then the other kind of people there was like a butcher's van, a mobile butcher's, which we bought some stuff from, and it was very tasty. And he did a roaring trade and things like that. So it was a bit of a strange one. It was kind of antique and flea stuff, and then a little bit boot sale, but not very. One caveat would be that we went on a Saturday, and apparently Sunday is, according to some people there, usually the better day. So I was a bit disappointed with. We were still busy, we still had lots of people looking, but it was very much the kind of older end of the population. There weren't as many families. When we did get families, then we did all right, but it was, and there were some, but not as many as I was hoping. Certainly when you see videos of other people's car boot sales, When they are traditional sort of just loads of cars in a field, then they tend to be a bit more sort of family orientated. So that's what we're hoping for at the next one we go to. So yeah, overall we did quite well. I think I sold £75 worth of stuff. My wife did 20 to 30 pounds, and my son did about 10 pounds. So given we only paid 10 pounds for the pitch, it was definitely a good deal, and it was quite good fun. We had to get up quite early, which we certainly don't do on purpose at the weekends, but it was good. We kind of we got along very well. We didn't argue or anything like that. We all sort of it was a nice it was an adventure, and we made some money, and we got we got rid of some junk. But also, by the time we got home, we still had the rest of the day to ourselves. We still had, we were quite tired, but by the time we were home and the car was unpacked, it was like 1 o'clock. Another thing I would say when it comes to car boots is the weather. What I did notice this sale was, this one started at, I think for customers or for buyers, it was at 7 o'clock. That was when buyers could buy or could come into the site, and it was very busy between 7 and 9. They were the peak times. But by the time it got to about 10 o'clock, very, very dark clouds appeared, and it had a little rain, but not a proper one. But that was enough. The second as it started looking gloomy, people started looking around who else was going, out of all the other people who weren't in the sort of undercover area. And then literally the first few raindrops, and everybody pretty much packed up. I put all my Pokemon cards back in the car and all my books, because they were all sort of vulnerable to water. My wife kept the rest of the stuff out because kitchen stuff and toys generally are fine for a light shower. But the weather had a big deal, and there was a noticeable drop off in the number of people who came in that sort of period when it looked pretty gloomy. And it brightened up a bit later, and we got a few more people, and I actually sold probably more Pokemon cards after that kind of gloomy period than I did before. But we were going to go for 2 days, and having seen what an effect the weather had, we actually decided not to go on the second day because the forecast for the morning was so bad. Because generally people go in the morning and they kind of get up and they look out and they go, no, I'm not going to go and walk around outside for an hour and get wet. So I think it has quite a big effect on attendance, and it certainly did. And even if it doesn't, the fact that all the buyers leave, that's not a good sign. If you turn up and you see that it's kind of half the size it should be, for instance, so the place is half empty, then you're not even going to get out your car. You're just going to turn around and drive off. So I think the fact that the buyers started disappearing and packing up didn't help. So that's definitely something to bear in mind. Here in Britain, the weather's, you can have 3 or 4 seasons in a day. We certainly had at least 2 on that Saturday. So yeah, so that's my kind of experience of my first car boot seller experience as a grown-up. And I hope you found this video useful. We're going to do another one next week, so do leave me a comment if you got any tips for me, or if you've got any questions and things things you want to ask, then please do drop me a comment and I'll try and reply to them. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.